What if you could understand exactly what a woman wants without her ever speaking a word? Her posture has already confessed. Her energy has already transmitted the message her conscious mind hasn't yet acknowledged. The critical error most men commit isn't in their hearing, it's in their observation. While they search for obvious indicators, the genuine communication has already happened through stance, through breath, through the unbroken gaze. Physical expression isn't a seduction technique, it's her most authentic voice. Imagine entering a space. You remain silent. She says nothing, yet you instinctively sense if there's connection, interest, or attraction. How? Through her physical being, through the slight pivot toward your direction, the seemingly casual touch to her hair, the specific duration of eye contact that doesn't immediately break. Most men never perceive this. They become preoccupied with language, with appearance, with the superficial layer. But reality resides in the subtle details, in that second when she grows quiet and watches, in that instant when her breathing pattern alters. This isn't random. It's evolutionary, because a woman communicates not through reasoning, but through being. The body manifests the invisible self, and in the feminine experience that manifestation speaks volumes, even when her voice remains still. Every leg cross, every head inclination, every silent motion is a concealed revelation. And if you understand how to observe, you perceive everything. But perception alone is insufficient. You must be completely present, fully, intensely engaged. Because feminine physical language isn't interpreted visually, it's sensed intuitively, detected through stillness. You aren't reading movements, you're reading purposes, and that's where the genuine interaction begins. Throughout human history, women have learned to conceal their interest behind symbols. She doesn't state it directly, she implies it. She doesn't declare it, she suggests it. And she does this because genuine value is never openly offered. It's examined, so if you're waiting for verbal confirmation, you've already lost, because she already demonstrated it, and if you failed to notice, you weren't prepared to engage. Connection initiates before visual contact, before any smile. It starts in how she chooses to position herself in the world when you're nearby, in the energy her physical form emits the moment you pass her. Because even the most motionless feminine body communicates, even complete silence conveys meaning. Have you observed the moment she transfers her weight between feet, or how she cradles her drink with both hands while listening to you? These actions aren't accidental. They're ancient micro-expressions encoded through millennia of evolution for protection and attraction. A woman can simulate many things, laughter, phrases, smiles, but she cannot fabricate what her body genuinely experiences because the physical self doesn't deceive. And when you learn to interpret it, you uncover a profound reality. Most men are visually impaired. They see the surface but miss the depth. They respond to the apparent and disregard the invisible. They concentrate on her statements rather than her delivery. But the key resides in what remains unspoken, in the tension held in her posture, in the orientation of her feet, in the pattern of her blinking. A woman's physical being constantly transmits information, not only about you but about herself, about her self-worth, her assurance, her interest. Were you aware that how a woman touches her hair reveals whether she feels self-assured or uneasy, or that repeatedly exposing her neck signals deliberate vulnerability? This is where the dynamic becomes intricately subtle. Sometimes a woman isn't attempting to attract, she's gauging. She's measuring your response, your stability, your presence. Not every gesture is an invitation. Some are examinations. Are you interpreting accurately, or are you superimposing your own desires onto her signals? Physical expression is an open letter, a book without cover art. If you know how to read it, you enter a dimension most people never reach. And this doesn't make you calculating, it makes you conscious. Because you aren't forcing anything, you're noticing what already exists. You're observing what she unintentionally reveals. But caution is essential. Perceiving isn't acting. Perceiving isn't intruding. Perceiving is simply recognizing. Recognizing that behind open body positioning lies an open perspective. Recognizing that extended eye contact isn't always desire. but it's always purpose. Because every sustained look carries an inquiry. And if you don't know how to respond non-verbally, you'll never comprehend the genuine interaction. Men who master interpreting feminine physical language don't seek validation. They don't require smiles as rewards. They interpret and decide, understand and adjust. Because they recognize that every gesture is an assessment, not a guarantee. Every approach represents a connection, not consent. And in that balance between perception and action, authentic power develops. This is the fundamental lesson. If you want to understand feminine interest, don't wait for verbal communication. Learn to read physical expression. Learn to see when others remain blind, because the most powerful truths are never announced. They're whispered, and the body whispers continuously. Feminine physical language isn't a performance. It isn't a stage decorated with calculated motions. It's something deeper, more primitive, more brutally genuine, biology in motion, ancient programming that operates without conscious permission. When a woman slowly crosses her ankles, touches her collarbone, or gently bites her lip, she isn't performing. She's obeying millions of years of evolutionary development. Everything she does, even unknowingly, has roots in natural selection. The feminine form was designed to communicate without words, to evaluate and protect itself, and in that process, it transmits signals, sometimes contradictory, sometimes crystal clear, that only the attentive can decipher. This isn't about interpreting choreography. It's about sensing the intention beneath each motion. Most men believe understanding a woman requires perfect phrases and rehearsed lines. What they forget is that before you speak, she has already read you. She has scanned your posture, your energy, your emotional control, and has formed a response you might never notice. Research in evolutionary psychology demonstrates that many feminine behaviors have adaptive origins. They developed in high-stakes environments where women needed to attract without exposure, evaluate without declaration, and connect without speaking. Her physical language became a radar, a method to scan, select, and filter potential partners. That's why most feminine signals serve dual purposes: to attract and to protect. A particular posture doesn't always indicate availability. Sometimes it's a barrier designed to filter the unworthy. A smile can welcome, or it can maintain boundaries. And in that subtle interplay between attraction and defense, the man who doesn't understand gets filtered out. The feminine instinct doesn't seek logic. It seeks consistency. She might hear your words, but she responds to your delivery. You might try to impress her with stories, but if your shoulders slump or your voice wavers, her body detects the inconsistency, and in that moment, attraction diminishes. To her, you are a frequency, an energy, a field of information her subconscious evaluates in milliseconds. Are you centered? Are you in command? Is your energy heavy, scattered, or stable? She perceives all this before you complete your first sentence, and if something doesn't align, her body responds with distance, even if her mouth says otherwise. This is where strategic thinking becomes relevant. Strategic philosophy wasn't written about women specifically, but it addresses perception, influence, and methodology. And genuine connection is precisely that. A silent exchange of perceptions, an emotional negotiation where whoever understands the invisible signals holds advantage. Strategic philosophy teaches that influence isn't declared, it's projected. The person who commands the environment doesn't need to speak. Their presence communicates everything. In the dynamic of attraction, this becomes straightforward. A woman doesn't respond to the man who tries, she responds to the man who is. She doesn't follow the man seeking approval. She follows the man whose calmness dissolves her defenses. And that calm, that emotional self-control under feminine stimulus, represents the modern equivalent of maintaining composure under pressure. The most frequent mistake men make is assuming more action creates more attraction, but in feminine physical language, often less achieves more. She doesn't respond to the man who pushes, she responds to the man who contains. She doesn't react to the one who moves excessively, but to the one who maintains control. And this isn't accidental, it's emotional survival. Feminine interest isn't born in noise, but in rhythm. In the security you project when you don't rush the moment, in the pause you take before responding. in the space you provide so she can feel without pressure. When a woman adjusts her clothing, leans forward slightly, crosses her wrists, or lowers her vocal volume, she's communicating something. Not with words, but with instinct. And if you respond from your logical mind, you're playing the wrong game. But if you respond from your center, from your breath, from your energy, something within her activates because you're not speaking to her reason, you're speaking to her emotional core, where feeling, intuition, and attraction reside. That's where authentic magnetism generates. And if you know how to navigate that dimension without words, you enter a realm most men will never discover. That's the genuine interaction. She isn't waiting for you to convince her. She's waiting for you to affect her, for your presence alone to shift her energy without any verbal exchange, for your silence to be not empty, but substantial, for your calm to be not passive, but commanding. And this cannot be fabricated. This is why the development isn't external. It isn't about memorizing lines or copying gestures. It's internal. It's working on your breath, your posture, your gaze, your intention. Because if your body isn't synchronized with your message, she will sense it. Her instinct detects everything, and when that occurs, she disconnects. Connection isn't an act. It's a state. It isn't about behaving differently. It's about being different, about returning to physical awareness, reconnecting with your bodily presence. Because while everyone else competes for attention, the truly magnetic man doesn't compete. He attracts, not through manipulation, but through radiating consistency. And that consistency is what the feminine instinct respects most. More than your physique, more than your attire, more than your vocabulary. What truly impacts her is your invisible command. That unspoken language that doesn't ask, but affirms. That silent energy that communicates powerfully without sound. And when that happens, she responds, not with logic, but with her physical being. The greatest mistake of the contemporary man isn't that he doesn't know how to speak. It's that he doesn't know how to remain silent. He talks excessively, explains too much, reacts to every gesture, every look, every smile as if they were confirmations. But a woman's body doesn't validate. It examines, it doesn't approve, it assesses. And if you don't comprehend this, you become a reactive man. And a reactive man is a man without power. When she smiles, he overreacts with enthusiasm. When she touches his arm, he becomes hopeful. And when she creates distance, he becomes frustrated. He lives according to her actions rather than maintaining his center. That's the trap. She isn't validating you, she's testing you. Because the genuine test isn't whether you react positively, it's whether you can choose not to react. A woman can appear interested without genuine interest. She can seem distant while still wanting connection. Because the feminine body doesn't always act from desire. It frequently acts from strategy. And feminine strategy involves observing, measuring, unsettling whoever isn't centered. It's a dance of stimuli where what matters isn't the step you take, but the direction you maintain. Do you want to understand why you lose magnetic pull? Because every time she sends an ambiguous signal, you lose composure. You stop breathing deeply, you lean in excessively, you start speaking incessantly, you try to win her favor, and the moment you do that, you've already lost because you've become someone seeking approval. And feminine interest doesn't activate through need, it activates through magnetism. Masculine magnetism originates from the center, from that part of you that remains unmoved even when everything around you shifts. That doesn't try to convince, that maintains its presence even when challenged. She doesn't need you to tell her you want her. She already knows, she feels it. But she's waiting to see if you can contain desire without losing your center. That's the critical error. Believing she's choosing you when in reality, she's measuring you. Because every woman operates with two internal clocks, one logical and one emotional. The first listens to your words, the second watches your gestures, and if there's inconsistency between what you say and what you project, the second always prevails. She doesn't desire what she understands, she desires what makes her feel. And if you react with excessive emotion, if you try to please, if you abandon your framework, you reveal that you cannot even contain your own desire. So how could you possibly contain hers? Instead of projecting certainty, you project doubt. Instead of holding tension, you release it. And the feminine doesn't respond to relief. It responds to controlled intensity, to calmness under pressure, to emotional neutrality when she presents a challenge. That's what attracts her. Not enthusiasm, not compliments, not urgency. What attracts her is seeing that she can make you feel without making you falter, that she can test you without breaking you. Because that's where she feels secure, not when you desire her, but when you can desire her without chasing her. This is why every smile isn't a gift, it's a question. Every touch isn't a reward, it's an examination. Every silence isn't rejection, it's a test of your ability to handle discomfort without losing your energy. And if you pass that test, desire doesn't get created, it awakens. Many men fail, not from lacking charm, but from carrying excessive need. They speak rapidly, laugh nervously, try to be liked, and she notices because her body mirrors yours. If you're tense, she closes off. If you're anxious, she cools because her nervous system constantly searches for an emotional reference more stable than herself. And if you aren't that reference, she disconnects. Masculine power isn't about controlling the woman. It's about not losing control in her presence. It's maintaining your framework even when she challenges it. It's speaking sparingly, looking steadily, breathing deeply, and justifying nothing. Because the man who doesn't need to explain himself becomes intriguing, and intrigue is compelling. Remember this, every emotional reaction you display is a confession of insecurity, of unmanaged desire, of hidden validation seeking. And feminine interest doesn't open for confessions, it opens for command, for firmness, for presence that doesn't crumble under stimulus. Attractive men don't do more, they do less, but with intention. They speak sparingly, observe more, wait patiently, because they know silence carries more power than countless words, that a pause creates more tension than any speech, and that in restraint lies the key to everything. And understand this clearly. This isn't about suppressing emotions, but mastering them, allowing them to exist without letting them lead you. Because when a woman tests you, it isn't to destroy you, it's to determine whether she can trust you emotionally. She's measuring whether you can lead emotionally, and that's why she sends destabilizing signals, not for you to react, but for you to demonstrate control. So next time she looks at you, don't react, breathe. Next time she smiles, don't get excited, observe. Next time she touches your arm, don't assume, hold steady. Because every feminine gesture isn't an attempt to please you, it's a check to see if you can lead the dance without losing yourself in the rhythm. That's the secret. She wants to feel that you can contain her energy without needing it, that you can desire her without chasing her, that you can hold her gaze without breaking the silence. Because real desire doesn't live in what's expressed, it lives in what's contained. In the man who doesn't surrender to the stimulus but transforms it into magnetic tension. Strategic philosophy understood that power concerns perception. It was never about possessing strength, but appearing to possess it. In the game of connection, this concept becomes instrumental because feminine interest doesn't respond to the man who forces, it responds to the man who projects, the man who, without speaking, without asking, without proving, simply is. The greatest power is the invisible kind, the power that never announces itself, that never shouts. It's command of the atmosphere, how you enter a room and the environment changes, the type of presence that doesn't seek but attracts. And this isn't built through forced effort, it's cultivated through self-mastery. A man who dominates the atmosphere doesn't need physical contact for her to feel him, doesn't need speech for her to hear him. His manner of moving, breathing, observing shifts the emotional dynamic because everything about him communicates one thing: security. Strategic philosophy would state that this man understands human nature, that people are guided by impulses, emotions, and reflexes, and that whoever controls those impulses without repression rules the interaction without raising their voice. In the realm of attraction, this means you don't chase feminine energy. You allow it, you observe it, you feel it, and when it appears, you don't rush it, you contain it, because real power isn't in obtaining it, but in holding it. A woman can sense whether a man is centered or performing. She can distinguish between presence and strategy, between authenticity and technique, and when she detects the former, her body responds. Not her mind, her body. Mastering the atmosphere involves learning to manage the emotional rhythm of the encounter, knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, when to approach and when to retreat, when to sustain eye contact and when to let her come closer. It's a subtle balance between firmness and space, between energy and emptiness. This type of control is never aggressive, never theatrical. It's silent, magnetic. It's the ability to charge a space with your energy without needing movement, to make her feel observed without feeling invaded, to create a tension that neither overwhelms nor dissipates. The secret lies in the tempo, in establishing the rhythm, because whoever sets the rhythm leads. And in connection, leading isn't imposing. It's guiding with energy. It's being so aware of your body, your tone, your silences, that everything you do becomes communication. Most men want to move quickly, want resolution, want certainty. But the feminine doesn't operate that way. The feminine needs space to unfold. And when the atmosphere is dense but contained, when tension exists without anxiety, she relaxes. And when she relaxes, she opens. Strategic philosophy spoke about controlling timing, not rushing, knowing how to wait for the right moment, applying force only when the outcome is assured. Applied to connection, this means knowing how to maintain mystery, not revealing everything, not destroying ambiguity. Because what nourishes feminine interest most is controlled ambiguity. The, I don't know what happens to me with him. The, I can't completely read him. That uncertainty activates the emotional mind and keeps it engaged. Real power doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from mastering yourself in the presence of others. And when you stand before a woman you desire, your ability to remain unaffected by her beauty, her stimulus, her proximity, that's what separates the average man from the unforgettable man. Invisible control is the ability to speak with your body more than your voice, to communicate security without arrogance, to emit desire without need. And when you do that, she feels it. She doesn't understand why. She simply knows that something in you draws her in, and that's power. Just as the strategic philosopher learned to use perception advantageously, you must learn to use your energy as a silent declaration. Because ultimately, it doesn't matter what you say. It matters how you make her feel. And if your atmosphere transmits command, calm and clarity, her body will respond long before her mind does. This isn't manipulation, it's intention. When your presence is firm yet relaxed, when your body doesn't seek but observes, when your energy is dense yet contained, you create an emotional field she senses without understanding. And that's the foundation where genuine attraction originates. And if you can maintain that field without breaking it, without rushing it, without trying to control the outcome, then you become the type of man who creates transformation. Because the average man impresses, the magnetic man transforms the atmosphere, even in silence, even without touch, even without declared intention. A woman feels she's encountering a different category of man, not because he does something special, but because his very energy communicates, I am here, I am in command, I need nothing, but I feel everything. And that type of contained, ambiguous, steady presence makes a woman not only interested, but receptive, because her nervous system reads that atmosphere as stability, as power, as desire without pressure. This is how you command a space without speaking. This is how you turn a room into your domain. And this is how, without words, you awaken her deepest instinct. Because as strategic philosophy taught, the true leader doesn't need to convince. They only need to exist with such intensity that everything around them adapts. There's a distinction between seeing signals and deciphering intentions. Most men interpret gestures. Magnetic men read truths. Because they understand feminine physical language isn't a secret code, but a silent confession. And the body doesn't only communicate what a woman feels for you, it communicates what she feels about herself. When a woman adjusts her clothing, it isn't always flirtation. It can be anxiety, it can be interest, it can be the need to regain control. When she looks at you, then glances away, it isn't rejection. It's vulnerability, tension, the dance between what she wants and what she fears. And the man who doesn't understand responds with logic. The man who understands responds with presence. The interpretation that changes everything isn't identifying gestures, it's detecting atmospheres. It's seeing what exists behind the movement. It's noticing how her breathing synchronizes with yours, how her voice softens, how she leans toward you by a centimeter. All of that represents desire before conscious desire, attraction before physical contact. And if you recognize it, you can hold it, you can amplify it. But caution, this understanding doesn't give you rights, it gives you responsibility. Because the man who comprehends feminine interest doesn't use it to extract something, he uses it to create something. Tension, intimacy, connection. And all of this begins with your own body. Because if you cannot read your own signals, if you don't command your energy, you cannot hold hers. Breathe slower, speak softer, move your body less, feel the moment more. That not only makes you more attractive, it makes you more conscious. Because now you understand that connection isn't about talking, it's about listening to silence, not about impressing, but about holding attention, not about seeking a reaction, but about maintaining your direction. When a man maintains his framework, his breathing, and his presence during emotional interaction, he becomes rare. And rarity is magnetic, because she's accustomed to men who disintegrate in the presence of her beauty, men who adapt, rush, lose control. But you don't. You remain. And in that remaining, genuine attraction originates. Not because she understands who you are, but because she feels something she cannot explain. And the more inexplicable it is, the more powerful it becomes, because the mind can ignore the obvious, but the body cannot ignore what it feels. You aren't one more. You aren't here to repeat patterns. You're here to break them, to represent an energy she doesn't encounter daily, an energy that doesn't impose, doesn't beg, doesn't need, but is profoundly present. And that presence isn't learned, it's cultivated, refined, developed. And in that conscious practice of observing, breathing, maintaining yourself, you become a mirror of something she cannot control. Because when a woman is attracted to something she cannot explain, cannot manipulate, cannot classify, her body reacts, her mind hesitates, her ego retreats, and her instinct ignites. You aren't trying to be understood. You're generating an emotional experience, a vibration, an emotional tension that exists without words. And the more silent you are, the more it amplifies. The more you contain, the more you intensify. Because in a world full of stimuli, the one who doesn't move becomes the center. The mistake is believing emotional connection requires language. No. Real connection happens in moments when no one speaks, but everything is felt, in the prolonged pause, in the exchange of sustained gazes, in the way bodies recognize each other without touching. That's the dance few understand, but now you perceive it. So if you want to be unforgettable, don't say what everyone else can say. Make her feel what no one else has made her feel. And that's only achieved when your energy is so aligned, so firm, so contained, that she cannot stop feeling you even when you're absent. That's the understanding that changes the interaction. You don't connect with words, you connect with presence. You don't attract with logic, you attract with calm. And most importantly, it isn't about convincing her of anything. It's about reminding her that what she's feeling is real. And if you've made it this far, you cannot unsee what you've perceived. Because now you comprehend that everything was visible. That what seemed mysterious was simply lack of attention, that what seemed rejection was merely assessment, and that what seemed confusion was misinterpreted interest. The body never lies, and now you know how to interpret it. You've crossed a threshold and cannot return, because what you know transforms you, and what you see compels you to act with greater precision, more intention, more self-command. Because the man who sees clearly doesn't simply stop being influenced, he becomes a reference, he becomes a leader. And that type of man is rare, but when he appears, he changes dynamics, changes energy, changes everything. So if this made you perceive something you couldn't see before, don't ignore it. Because what you see transforms who you are. If this revealed new layers of understanding for you, support this channel, like this video, and subscribe to Psych for insights you won't find anywhere else. Your presence speaks before your words ever do. True power lies in contained energy, not forced action.